I thought keeping a secret would keep the peace. My grandmother passed away 6 months ago and left me 3 apartments. 3. My wife Sarah knew, but I never told her family. I figured it would complicate things, create expectations I was not ready to handle. We had been married for 3 years, living simply in our rented place in Portland. Life was good. Quiet. Then one Saturday morning, my mother-in-law showed up at my door with a notary. I thought keeping quiet was the smart move. Turns out silence has a price. Before we get into what happened, I would love to know where you are watching from. Drop your city or country in the comments below. And if you are finding this story interesting so far, hit that like button and subscribe, because what happened next taught me something about family money and the cost of staying silent. Sarah and I built our life together on simple foundations. I work as a software engineer at a tech company here in Portland, Oregon. The pay is decent, nothing extravagant, but it keeps us comfortable. Sarah teaches elementary school, 3rd grade. She comes home with stories about her students that make me laugh, stories about kids who still believe in magic and fairness. Her salary is modest, but she loves what she does. That matters more than money to her. We rent a 2-bedroom apartment, about 900 square feet. It sits on the 2nd floor of an older building with creaky wooden floors and windows that rattle when the wind picks up. But it is ours for now. We have plants on the windowsill, photographs on the walls, a couch we found at an estate sale. We cook dinner together most nights, pasta or stir-fry, whatever we can throw together after work. On weekends, we walk through the parks, grab coffee at the neighborhood cafe, live the kind of life that does not make headlines, but feels right. Saving for a house was our goal. We had a joint account where we deposited a little each month. Not much, but steady. In another 2 or 3 years, we figured we would have enough for a down payment on something small, a starter home, maybe a place with a backyard where we could plant tomatoes and let a dog run around. Simple dreams. Sarah's family was part of our routine. Every Sunday, we drove to her mother's house for dinner. Patricia, my mother-in-law, is 55 years old. She has been a widow for 5 years now. Her husband, Sarah's father, died of a heart attack while mowing the lawn one summer afternoon. Patricia never remarried. She lives alone in a small house on the outskirts of town, the kind of place with faded siding and a garden she barely has time to tend because she works 2 part-time jobs to make ends meet. Then there is Lauren, Sarah's younger sister. 26 years old, still living with Patricia. Lauren has a pattern. She gets a job, works for a few months, then quits because the manager is terrible, or the hours do not fit her lifestyle, or the work is beneath her. She has been through 7 jobs in the past 2 years. Right now, she is unemployed again, spending her days scrolling through her phone and talking about starting a business she never actually starts. Derek is Sarah's older brother, 32. He works in sales for a furniture company, the kind of job where your income depends on commission and charm. Derek has plenty of charm, but not much luck lately. He is going through a divorce. Messy. His wife wants full custody of their 2 kids, and Derek is fighting back with a lawyer he cannot afford. The legal fees are draining him. Every time we see him, he looks more exhausted, more desperate. They are good people, Sarah's family. I genuinely believe that. But money is a sore subject. It always has been. I noticed it early on, the way conversations would shift when bills came up, when someone mentioned rent or car repairs. There was a tension, a sensitivity. I learned to tread carefully around those topics. 6 months ago, my grandmother Emma died. Lung cancer. It took her quickly, which I suppose was a mercy compared to what it could have been. I was close to her growing up. Every summer, my parents sent me to stay with her for 2 weeks. She lived in Seattle then, in a beautiful apartment near the waterfront. She taught me how to play chess, how to cook a proper breakfast, how to listen more than I spoke. She was sharp, practical, unsentimental about most things. But she loved me. I knew that. When the lawyer called me a month after her funeral, I was not expecting much. Maybe a piece of jewelry, some family photos. Instead, he told me she left me 3 apartments. 2 in Seattle, 1 in Tacoma. I sat in my car outside the law office, staring at the paperwork, unable to process it. The estimated value was around $1.2 million. 2 of the apartments were rented out, bringing in about $4,000 a month in passive income. The 3rd apartment, the one she had lived in, was vacant. I called Sarah immediately. She met me for lunch and I showed her the documents. Her eyes went wide. She asked if I was okay if I needed time to process it. I told her I did not know what I felt. Grateful, yes, but also confused, overwhelmed. My grandmother had never mentioned this to me. She must have planned it for years, quietly arranging everything so I would inherit after she was gone. She trusted me with this. That trust felt heavy. That night, Sarah and I talked about whether to tell her family. I asked her what she thought. She looked at me for a long moment, then said, "It is your inheritance. You decide." I thought about Patricia working 2 jobs, struggling to keep her house. I thought about Lauren with no income and no plan. I thought about Derek drowning in legal fees, desperate for any relief. I imagined telling them, watching their faces change, feeling the weight of their expectations settle on my shoulders. I did not want that. I did not want them to look at me differently, to see me as a resource rather than family. So I made a choice. I decided to keep it quiet. Just for a while. Until I figured out what to do with the properties, how to manage everything. Sarah agreed, though I could tell she was not entirely comfortable with the decision. I reassured her. "We will tell them when the time is right," I said. She nodded, and life went on as usual. Or so I thought. 1 week later, everything fell apart. It was a Saturday morning. Sarah had gone to the farmer's market with some friends, and I was working from home, catching up on a project deadline. The apartment was quiet, except for the hum of my laptop and the occasional car passing outside. Then the doorbell rang. I was not expecting anyone. I walked to the door, looked through the peephole, and saw Patricia standing there. Next to her was a man I did not recognize. Middle-aged, wearing a dark suit and carrying a leather briefcase. My stomach dropped. Something was wrong. I opened the door. Patricia smiled, but it was not her usual warm smile. It was tight-forced. "Thomas," she said, "we need to talk. This is Mr. Henderson. He is a notary public." I stood there confused, my brain scrambling to make sense of what was happening. A notary? Why would she bring a notary to my apartment unannounced on a Saturday morning? "Can we come in?" Patricia asked, though it was not really a question. I stepped aside and they walked past me into the living room. Mr. Henderson set his briefcase on the coffee table and opened it with a soft click. My heart was pounding now. I sat down across from them, trying to keep my voice steady. "What is this about?" Patricia did not waste time. "I know about the apartments your grandmother left you," she said flatly. The words hit me like cold water. I stared at her, unable to speak. How did she know I had told no one, except Sarah, and Sarah would never betray that confidence? Patricia must have seen the shock on my face because she continued, almost satisfied. "Lauren ran into an old friend last week, someone who works at a title office in Seattle. They mentioned a transfer of 3 properties to someone named Thomas. Lauren put it together. I felt anger rising in my chest, but I forced myself to stay calm. Okay, I said slowly. So you know. What does that have to do with bringing a notary to my home? Patricia leaned forward, her expression shifting from calm to something sharper, more accusatory. Why did you not tell us we are family, Thomas? You have been sitting on this information for weeks while my children are drowning. Derek is about to lose his kids because he cannot afford a decent lawyer. Lauren cannot even afford to rent her own place. And I am working myself to exhaustion just to keep the lights on. You knew all of this, and you said nothing. Her words stung, but I refused to feel guilty. This is my inheritance, I said firmly. It has nothing to do with anyone else. I did not ask for it. I did not plan it. My grandmother left it to me, and I am still figuring out what to do with it. Figuring it out? Patricia's voice rose. You have over $1 million in assets, Thomas. What is there to figure out? You could help us. You could make a real difference in our lives. But instead, you are keeping it all to yourself. I could not believe what I was hearing. This was not a conversation. It was an ambush. I glanced at Mr. Henderson, who was sitting quietly, his hands folded on his lap, his face carefully neutral. He was here for a reason, and I was about to find out what it was. Patricia reached into the briefcase and pulled out a stack of papers. She set them on the table in front of me. This is a transfer agreement, she said. We are asking you to sign over one of the apartments to me. Just one. You still keep two. That is more than fair. I stared at the papers, my mind racing. Fair, she thought this was fair. You are asking me to give you an apartment worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, I said, my voice shaking with barely controlled anger. Why would I do that? Because Sarah is my daughter. Patricia said, her tone cold now. What is yours should be hers too, and what is hers belongs to our family. Your grandmother never met us. She did not know about our struggles, our needs, but you do. If you really love Sarah, if you really care about this family, you will do the right thing. I felt trapped, cornered. I looked at Mr. Henderson, who finally spoke. I am just here to notarize the signature if you choose to sign, he said quietly. This is entirely your decision. I stood up, my hands clenched into fists at my sides. I am not signing anything, I said. This is my property, my inheritance. You have no right to ask me for it, and you certainly have no right to show up at my home with legal documents and expect me to hand over what my grandmother left me. Patricia stood as well, her face flushed with anger. I thought you were a good man, Thomas. I thought you cared about this family. Clearly, I was wrong. She grabbed her purse and turned to Mr. Henderson. We are leaving. He packed up his briefcase without a word, and they walked to the door. Before she left, Patricia looked back at me one last time. You are going to regret this, she said. Then they were gone. I stood in the empty living room, my heart pounding, my hands shaking. I could not process what had just happened. The audacity, the entitlement. They actually thought they could pressure me into giving them my property. I sat down on the couch, my head in my hands, trying to breathe. This was not over. I knew that much. Sarah came home an hour later carrying bags of vegetables and fresh bread from the market. She took one look at my face and knew something was wrong. What happened? She asked, setting the bags down and sitting next to me. I told her everything. The surprise visit, the notary, the transfer agreement, her mother's demands. Sarah's face went pale. She pulled out her phone and called Patricia right there, putting it on speaker so I could hear. Mom, what did you do? Sarah's voice was sharp, angrier than I had ever heard her. Patricia did not sound apologetic. She repeated everything she had said to me almost word for word. "If he really loves you, he would help your family," she said. Sarah cut her off. "Mom, that is not fair. It is his inheritance. You had no right to do that."